We believe that videos, images, words, and sounds have the absolute power to inform, inspire, and entertain. We are united under the virtues of safety and knowledge. We are a training community of learners and teachers who encourage and energize each other to achieve greatness. We are pilots, videographers, photographers, freelancers, business owners, enthusiasts, experts, and apprentices. We are creators. We are the Drone U.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another awesome episode of Ask Drone U. My name is Paul.
And I'm Rob, and you're listening to episode number 294. And yes, as always, we thank you for spending a few minutes of your day with us. We really, really, really appreciate it.
We do, and we've got some news today, Rob.
I think it's good news.
All right, two pieces of news,
It's relatively good news.
Two pieces.
Okay.
And one of these you're going to be like, well, is that really news?
I'm not going to be like that, but go ahead.
The first piece of news, the UN has officially banned lithium batteries from being in the cargo area of airplanes, which means where you put your luggage. It's also a ban, though, on large commercial shipments. That's what the priority of this new, I guess, law or recommendation. But what they're saying is that the ban does not affect batteries inside gadgets people take into the passenger cabins of planes. So again, we've been telling you for a long time, if you are flying with batteries, carry them on. So important. Looks like we just got a Facebook comment, but it's
a pressurized,
hard to...
pressurization issue? Is that really what it comes down to?
There's multiple issues. Pressurization is definitely one. Essentially, lithium touches oxygen, or if the two parts of the battery, the two leads touch each other, we're going to have a fire that we can't really put out, especially while we're in the sky. And
we've seen some nasty pictures of this actually happening. It does happen.
Yes, and the thing is why the FAA is so worried about it. Lithium fire ignites and stays lit at about 600 degrees Celsius, which is also the melting point of the aircraft.
Ooh.
Isn't that fun?
I don't want to be on one of those flights.
All right. In other news, the great honorable, quasi-honorable Michael Huerta from the FAA was at South by Southwest.
I don't know what quasi-honorable means, but...
It means sometimes honorable.
Okay.
I just thought I'd clarify that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm also going to sift through the BS and give you the what you need to hear, because Huerta's speech was quite long, and there's only like 2 paragraphs that actually really mean anything. And here's one of them. This is Michael Huerta talking at South by Southwest. Speaking of the new rules, should I do this in my political old man voice?
Yes.
Speaking of the new rules, we expect to have our small UAS rule finalized this spring. As most of you know, this rule will allow for routine commercial operations of small UAS within certain limitations. It will, for the most part, eliminate the need to issue Section 333 exemptions on a case-by-case basis. And it will open up access to the national airspace system while maintaining today's high safety standards.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well read.
I was really hard to be that bad at speaking, but, I can do it for certain politicians.
Well,
anyway,
yes.
What is the key point to this? It will, for the most part, eliminate the need to issue Section 333 exemptions.
For the most part.
For the most part, yeah. And that's something that I want to really talk about, because even though the FAA is saying, Section 333 exemptions are not going to really be needed after, and we knew this. There were expiration dates on Section 333 exemptions. We knew this was happening. But there are still going to be certain industries that you're going to need that Section 333 exemption to really have the opportunity to do what you want. Example.
To even get in the game, yeah.
Yes, in certain industries.
Right.
Example, TV and film. We all know the unions are still pushing to have licensed pilots to be pilots of drones while on set. We also know beyond visual line of sight and night operations are going to be reserved again for those who have the Section 333. So could you have the competitive advantage by having the Section 333 exemption when the new micro UAS rules come out? Yes, absolutely. So don't get on yourself if you're like, oh, why did I get a 333 exemption if they're just going to blanketly allow commercial operations, and they said starting this spring. So if you've been waiting for your Section 333 exemption and you're worried about doing commercial operations, fear no more.
But if somebody is maybe interested in just doing real estate or something, they're thinking about getting the 333, would you have them hold off at this point?
No, because we don't know what the rules on micro UAS are going to be. They could be just as hypocritical as we've seen before. Like, remember, the original Section 333 exemption said you can do aerial data collections, but you've got to stay 500 feet away from everyone. So if they do something like that, then the micro UAS is going to be just about useless. So it depends.
Okay. It depends.
If you're going to get your 333, though, get it with the MBTOM. That is the clear, verified answer.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense, which we talked about in previous podcasts, so check those out if you're not quite sure why that reference was thrown in there.
Definitely. Do you think this is good news, Rob?
I think it's good news. I mean, I think it at least shows that there's some rational thinking in terms of making common sense rules that people can just work within that are reasonable. Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
Absolutely. And I really do hope that these new rules are going to be well thought out. They do have industry stakeholders, but we learned last time that if there was a dissenting opinion, they didn't allow it. So I hope it's a more open protocol. I hope it's a more open speaking environment. And I hope it is not protectionist for pilots. I hope it is really, truly allowing for people to use their drones commercially, because I think there are hundreds, if not thousands, of uses for these little things. So
absolutely, and I think we're moving in the right direction. I'm going to stay positive.
Benefit of the doubt is good.
Absolutely.
And I will say again, I'll speak positively of the FAA for a few seconds. When they do implement something, it does work.
Yeah.
Meaning when it works, that there's actually a process and there's a flow and you can actually go through it and it'll be there.
Yeah, because again, the 333 was never meant for drones in the first place, and so that does not describe what you're just describing in terms of a good system.
Yeah, I think to clarify what you're saying, drones as commercial drones. I think it was more so, in 2007, the FAA defined drones as big, heavy military killing machines.
Yeah.
So when consumer drones became huge in 2011, 2012, they've already created this definition, and then over here, they're like, well, what about this little 3-pound thing?
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Anyway, lots to go through today with today's question. We are talking about real estate pricing. I know a lot of you are getting into it. And I know I'm going to answer this question right now. Do we have a course on real estate videography? And we are still in the works on that because it is ever evolving, especially with the Osmo. I mean, we were already through a lot of it, and then the Osmo just totally changed the game, but for the better. In fact, I love shooting real estate with the Osmo, so it's awesome. And we're going to go over the different price points. So today's question is going to be brought to you by... Are you a drone pilot? Are you operating under a Section 333 exemption? Then you may be familiar with Item 27, which requires you to get a property release for every flight over property.
Legal Flyer is an app for iPhone and iPad that helps you create professional property releases in less time than it takes to do a pre-flight check.
You can add your pilot info, you can sign it, hand it to the property owner for their signature. But wait a second. Legal Flyer's advanced integration automatically adds latitude, longitude, and even altitude.
Then add a panorama straight from the app. Everything drops into a single-page PDF you can share with a single tap. It's compliance at light speed. Visit LegalFlyer.com for more information or get it straight from the App Store. Legal Flyer. Property releases for professional drone pilots.
Hello, Rob. Hello, Paul. This is David Douglas from the northwest suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia. I'm happy to say I'm the proud owner of a brand new DJI Phantom 3 professional quadcopter. And thanks to the Don't Crash course, I have managed to rack up 40 flights and nearly 20,000 meters of flight space without sinking her in the woods. This has led me to a couple of questions as I've reviewed my pictures and videos after my flights. Here in Atlanta, it's been cloudy lately, and I'm finding my photos and videos are looking a little darker than the actual ambient light. Any suggestions on camera settings? I've watched several YouTube videos and they've recommended turning off the auto white balance and using the custom setting. What are your thoughts and suggestions on that? Secondly, as a new subscriber to the Drone U, I've been catching up on a lot of podcast, webinars, and so forth. I want to go commercial eventually, and recent podcast mentioned that for some real estate jobs, I believe a fee of $650 was mentioned for homes over $500,000, and roughly a $1,500 fee for homes of $1 million plus. I don't know if I missed something. Do those figures include doing indoor and outdoor video and pictures, or is it primarily just exterior photos with maybe a short flyby video included in the package? What would be reasonable to charge for a complete package, both indoor and out? And what do you expect a time frame to shoot that and post time to complete a deliverable? Thanks so much, guys. I'm flying safe thanks to Drone U. Keep up the great work.
Awesome. So first of all, thank you for the great questions, David. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you for being a member of Drone U. We appreciate that as well.
Yeah, the fact that he did the Don't Crash course, has 40 flights in, it helped him lower his learning curve. That says a lot. So
and no
you.
crashes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Big surprise.
Yeah, go figure. It works.
So his long, elongated question is, there are so many parts to this. How much do you charge? Is that indoor? Is that outdoor? At what price point am I charging what? So let me just say a couple things about the market. Number one, if you are shooting real estate, you're going to have a lower barrier to entry on houses that are below $500,000. But that also means that the price that you can charge for your aerial videography or photography is going to be substantially lower. The way that I price my aerial real estate is not only by the price of the home, also how many people are going to be using the video. That is that multi-client discount that we have mentioned before.
Which is a great strategy.
In our business classes. Yes, it is. Because your clients believe they're getting a discount, you're actually racking up money. Works out for everyone. That being said, you're going to find an easier barrier to entry to market with luxury homes. Now, a lot of people are going after luxury homes, but John, our producer over here, just sent me a real estate video yesterday of an $8 million property in Miami where they're using GoPro footage. So if you have a higher quality, there is a very, very good shot that you can still shoot these videos and do a much better job than the people who are out there right now. And I'm not trying to bash on bad videos, but here's the thing, guys. If you spend the time working on your advanced aerial videography, you will have a competitive advantage over everyone else because you're going to know how to use the camera properly. You're going to know how to get the right look, the right style. And also, you're going to know how to fly like a boss, which is the most important part.
Yeah, and the good news is we're seeing more and more of these kinds of properties, in particular the higher-end properties, are using drone footage, which means, what I like about that is it means that those that aren't, they're going to have to.
Totally.
Right? So that bar is being raised, which just means more opportunity for you to go get some of that business.
And think about it. There are over 1 million realtors, and I think over 350,000 are active, meaning they've got like 10 listings or more. So there is a massive pie for you to really jump into and get a part of. So don't worry about your competition. Just worry about providing a better quality product. The product will speak for itself. But you also have to do a good job in making your clients understand why your service is better than the other ones. If they can't see that, if they can't understand that, then honestly, what's the point? It doesn't quite make sense.
So how do you do that?
Actually, I have a presentation where I showcase one of our classes where we're actually showing people how to edit their GoPro photos to go from like that arced horizon to a flat horizon line. We're increasing the highlights and the shadows on the property itself. We're changing the way that the light is being shown throughout the photos so that the eye goes straight to the building. There's a lot that really goes into that, and I sped that hour-long class up to 2 minutes to show them, here's what it looks like. But I also did a video side. I showed them GoPro video of the convention center, and then I showed them the Inspire 1 4K video of the convention center. And again, you can have great 4K video, but if you don't have the right flight movements, if there's a lot of jerk in it, you're not going to be able to charge these prices for your videos.
Right.
So he asked the question, are you filming interior and exterior, right?
Yeah,
So-
you did ask that question.
So for houses below $500,000, $650, depending on the market of where you are, which is so important because here in New Mexico, prices are very low. But in Colorado, $650 for a home is a cakewalk to get. I mean, it is so easy. You should be able to get $1,000 a home if the home is over, say, $750,000 itself.
Right, and that includes...
That includes interior and exterior video.
Right.
So the way I did it in the past is that I would do all of my exterior stuff via drone. Remember, we got another comment on there. Remember that the best drone shots for real estate have been proven that they're only 20 to 30 feet over the roof line. You're not shooting from 100 feet up. You're not
Right.
shooting from 50 feet up. If you want to sell this home, you got to get low, close, and really showcase the home, but also showcase the perspective of the home.
But that doesn't mean you're not maybe going to start from a little ways out and kind of come in, or not necessarily?
No, that's a great thing to do.
Okay.
You know, one of the things that we talk about in the real estate videography class is how you can start out super wide and literally slowly move in
Right.
until you go through the front door of the house. And it's one way that you can transition into the house.
That's a great shot.
So yeah, I mean, you definitely want to showcase the relationship of the house to the neighborhood and the community around it. That's huge. That's important. But all of your shots shouldn't be from 300 feet up. So
And so, sorry, and on that note, when you're talking about interior and exterior,
Don't
are
say
you
sorry.
talking about... I'm sorry?
don't say sorry.
Okay, I won't say sorry. Are we talking about only video, or are we talking about images as well?
I'm only talking about video.
Okay.
Because, guys, I just don't think that there's like a market for aerial photos because think about it. Aerial photos is really easy. Aerial video is the most difficult aspect of drone flying. Mapping is easy. Photography is easy. Smooth, cinematic, buttery, smooth, fluid footage
Right.
is so difficult to achieve. And you know, with the price of drones going down, you can get a Phantom 3 Pro for less than $1,000. A realtor is going to go out and they're going to buy a Phantom 3 Pro and they're going to take photos. So can you charge $150 for aerial photos? Yeah, but the guys that are out there, people like Photovan, right? They are trying to capture the market by creating a super low level price point to take all the photos for a home, which is like
Right.
$130 a house.
But my point is, are you going to do both? I mean, obviously the video is going to set you apart, particularly if you can do the buttery smooth footage that you refer to.
Super
But are
buttery.
you going to add the photos in addition to the buttery smooth footage?
So yes,
I love saying that.
So
Buttery smooth.
the way that I get a lot more money on these shoots is I upsell constantly. So one of the upsells is that I'll do aerial photos, but I include an aerial long exposure because that's the only way that they're going to see a massive difference where they can actually capture that. Because realtors still don't know how to do the aerial long exposures. They don't know what it takes, the type of settings.
That's a different time of day, right? You've got
Correct.
to plan for that as well.
Correct. That's where the next upsell comes in. Because if I say, oh, well, I can do this aerial long exposure and I'll take some aerial photos for an extra $150, then I'm like, well, if you'd like, I could also come during sunset and film the whole house during sunset. I do charge a small fee to do that because it's difficult to be able to hit so many homes at
Right.
sunset. But, I can do that for another $150.
Right. They become priority, essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And realtors love exclusivity.
Yes,
I
they
don't know
do.
why, but they do.
We all do on some level.
So on the average house, I'm upselling normally once, not twice. I would say my conversion ratio for double the upsell is about 35%.
And one way that you do the upsell is through packages. That's something you've talked about in the past.
Absolutely. Yep. So if you're a new guy out there and you want to say maybe offer photos on top of the video without charging money, great way to get your foot in the door. Another great way to get your foot in the door, and a lot of people don't like this, but it works, is you offer a free video. But you say very clearly, and this is the one mistake that a lot of people make because realtors will take advantage of you. I've had it happen a week ago.
And anybody will take advantage of you, not just realtors, but yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You can offer a free video and say, this is the only time I'm going to offer you a free video. I just want you to be able to visualize the value that we provide in your listing. We want you to visualize
Right.
why you're gonna stand out from the crowd, why you're gonna have that competitive advantage, why your house is going to sell faster. That's what it's all about. If you're helping them sell, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. And by the way, going back just a little bit, one of the additional ways that you can set yourself apart is the upfront work that you do with them. So for example, I think you have a checklist that lets them know make sure you do all of these things prior to me showing up. It just shows that you're organized and you
Yes.
know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And it makes them feel comfortable about how the shoot's going to go and how they're going to get what they're looking for.
I will say, though, about half the time I do that, the realtor still does not do those things.
That's okay, because you're giving them the perception and, well, the reality that you know what you're doing. Whether they do what they're supposed to do is beside the point.
Yeah.
Because at that point, you're trying to sell, and it will help do that.
I will say, though, I've had times where the realtor did not do what I said, hey, we need to dust this house, or else if we try to do certain things inside of the house while filming, it's going to look really poor.
Yeah.
And then I had a realtor who had construction stuff all around the house, and he had cement bags, and he's like, I want you to film this because we're going to sell it in a couple months. And it's like, you're really going to try and sell the house with construction crap all around it? You think people are actually going to buy that and see value in that?
Not unless they think they're going to get a big discount.
Not.
Basically, you're asking them for a discount.
Yeah, no, seriously. And this is the same realtor who in the last few weeks was like, oh, I'll pay you once you deliver the video. No, dude, you're going to pay me and then I'm going to deliver the video, or else I have no way to ensure that you're going to pay me.
And that's another really interesting question, an important question, because I'm sure, especially those that are getting into this new, they're going to feel a lot of pressure, and a lot of realtors are going to ask them for that footage before being paid. And so everybody needs to figure that out for themselves. But what would your advice be on that?
Well, this is just like what the union tells people in the film industry, is that if a director asks you to get a super difficult shot that you don't feel comfortable with, you've got to have the balls to say no. And you've got to have the balls to tell a realtor, I'm not going to deliver your product until it's paid for. Can they preview the product? Absolutely. Don't put it on YouTube because they can download it. And a lot of realtors aren't that smart, but they will be in time. So
a lot of them are.
Are you saying that because your wife is a realtor?
Actually, she technically is, but that is not her main job. So anyways, go ahead.
I actually really like your wife, so I'm just going to throw that out there. Not in a weird way. I think she's a cool
Me too.
human being.
Yes, she is.
Anyway.
Moving on.
Don't want... I was getting awkward for a second. You cannot be afraid to ask for money. When I told this guy very straightforward, I can't do that, sir. I have no way to ensure that you're actually going to pay me. And he was like, oh, you don't trust me? He got all defensive. And I said very clearly, no, I do not trust you. I do not have a standing relationship with you. A lot of realtors are known to either forget or not pay for services like mine. And because there's a track record of that here in New Mexico, no, I don't trust you.
Well, and you can also state it in terms of, look, this is just our policy because of some experiences that we've had in the past, and we feel that it's important
Why do I get
that we stay consistent with our policy. Otherwise, if we give special treatment to one realtor, we've got to give it to the next, and now we don't have a policy that works anymore, so this is the way that we do things. I hope you appreciate that.
I recommend you say it like him. Don't say it like me where I'm like, no, dude. That ain't gonna work, dude.
Yeah, I mean, you've got your own style. Use it. We're seeing maybe our two different styles here.
I should get my Heisenberg out and be like, I am the one who knocks.
There you go.
Get them really scared. Anyway, you guys got to have a backbone, though. And this is, again, something
that's true.
We talk about in our business class, which is you've got to know your value. And you've got to be able to be willing to charge that value. So let's go back into price points, right?
Okay.
$650 for a house, $500 and under. In any large to medium-sized market, you should be able to get that. For smaller markets, if you're in a city of about 100,000 or less, it may be difficult for you to get that. I would move that price point down to about $500 a home. And guys, there are going to be the undercharges out there. We have one here in town. I'm going to leave it at that. And
Thank
you know
you.
what? I bash the guy every chance I get when I do a presentation. I don't bash him in the sense like, oh, look at this guy. He's charging so little. I literally pull up examples of his work and I say, this is what you can get for this price point. And if you want that price point, this is the guy you should hire. And I literally say it like that. Like, you know what? If that's what you want, go. I do not want to work with you. Go, 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 go. Go, go, go. Don't ever call me and ask questions. Ask him, And then I'm going to say...
stylistic perspective. You might have your own. I'm guessing it would be a little different. But anyways.
And this is more the Paul version. Obviously, I'm I'm very politically correct at presentations. But, you gotta put it in black and white. This is what you're going to get for $150. This is what you're going to get for $500. Are you trying to sell your house? Or are you trying to degrade your reputation? Your choice. Let me know what you want to do.
There you go. All right, so let's get into a little bit more about, because I think what David is trying to get at is figure out, okay, for this, like, for example, in layman's terms, what am I making per hour? So when he's asking, tell me about the shoot. How long is it going to take? How much time am I going to spend out there? What does post look like? What am I going to have into this job?
So in the past, it would take me about 90 minutes to 2 hours to film a house inside and out. That's spending about an hour outside, and it's spending about an hour inside.
Okay.
And I used to use a tripod and a Sony a6000, and I would just move around the house, tilt up, tilt down, tilting pan, just changing it out between the rooms, doing some slides every once in a while. But now I use the Osmo, and thanks to GPC and the Osmo case, we did do that review. You guys got to check it out. It's awesome. With the Osmo, I can now take in my case a slider and a suction cup, because remember, when you're filming real estate, they want you to make the room look as big as possible.
Yeah.
So I suction my Osmo to a window or to a baseboard in the corner, and I just do all my pans and my tilts on the app. I don't do it on the joystick. I do it through the app. They're super smooth. They're beautiful, and I can add a lot more uniqueness. On top of that, I bring my slider, which again fits in the case, and I just do a couple slides in 3 different angles in each room.
Right.
I take all of that together, and this is the fastest I've ever done it, because for a while I was outsourcing all my videos for real estate, and I just realized that if I just sit my butt down at 9 o'clock at night and just do it myself, it takes less time and less money. I can edit a full video, reviews and all, in 2 hours. But if I use the Osmo, I've taken my actual production time down to 90 minutes tops. Normally, I can get done in an hour and 15 minutes with the Osmo and the Inspire.
So somebody that's relatively new might want to plan on more like 3-4 hours post if they're going to be learning to do it themselves, right?
I would say 5 hours to 6
Really?
hours post-processing. Yeah, if you're editing Final Cut, if you're editing Premiere Pro, it also depends on your computer, because
True.
one of the things that we haven't talked about is how we shoot. So whenever I do my presentation, I'm always showing everyone 4K footage, but the $650 price point, that's for a 1080 output, 1080p output.
Okay.
If a realtor wants 4K, that's another $250 upgrade.
And why is that? Just because of the technology cost, or is it because there's more time in post, or simply the product is better?
It's the art of the deal, Rob. Art
Right
of
on.
the deal.
Okay.
I'm
but
kidding.
Go ahead.
That's what I thought I put my Donald Trump on that.
You're fired.
I really do it because it's an ability to upsell. Has nothing to do with the equipment. My Inspire shoots 4K just like it does 1080. The difference is a click of a button.
So the answer to the question then is it's the product. They are getting a better product.
Yes.
You're not like pulling the wool over their eyes or something.
Correct.
Okay.
But the one
Obviously.
thing I will tell you is that I'm always shooting in 4K.
Right.
And then outputting down to 1080 because it looks crisper than my competition. Because my competition just films in 1080.
Right.
So that's another little secret tip and trick there.
Yeah, so Paul mentions 5-6 hours, particularly if you're new to the editing process, but do know that in time you will get that down. It's just that learning curve. So,
True. True.
Be patient with yourself.
And I will say to everyone who is commenting on Facebook right now, because there's quite a number of comments, we will answer them at the end of the podcast recording. So stay tuned. I will get to your questions, I promise. Anyway, getting back into this, interior, exterior, price points, what's the next break in price point? What I normally do is any home over $1 million, I normally charge a minimum of $1,500.
Okay.
That's for interior and that's for exterior. Number one is taking more time. Number two, it's a bigger home. Number three, the commission is much larger for the realtor, thus more upfront costs.
So obviously that range of 500,000 to $1 million is somewhere in the middle there.
Yes. And normally, like, again, your goal is to have that package at the beginning. Your goal is to offer multiple things. Oh, I'll film the interior. I'll film the exterior. I'll throw in a couple extra photos to sweeten the deal. You want to have package pricing. I have 3 tiers of packages. The lowest tier of package no one ever buys, and I don't expect anyone to buy it because I set it up that way.
Correct.
My middle package is the one I want everyone to buy, which is the $650 price point, which I told you. And the high end is 4K, slow-mo, interior, exterior, like the whole kit and caboodle.
Sure.
Which people do buy. And
Yeah.
you know what? Hey, they pay for it, so it's great. That being said, if we're over $1 million to $2 million, $1,500, anything over $2 million, I normally price by how much time it's going to take me. So,
and the complexity of the job, and for example,
and the time it takes to get out to the job.
Yeah, got to plan for that, because a lot of those bigger jobs, at least in our area, you're going out to ranches and those kinds of things.
So ranches are actually my favorite thing to film. Do you know why?
Why?
Because no one's there. No people. No, it's just quiet, wilderness, peaceful. It's just me and my drone.
Me?
I feel like that should be a music video. It's just me and my drone, but out on the road, like.
Oh boy.
Anyway, hey, it's true, because, a lot of guys out there get some relaxation. They get some time away from their wives. We all love our wives, but I'm just saying, some time away from them is never a bad thing. So,
well, that peaceful alone time is definitely a good thing. And a lot of people do that. Like for me, I maybe backpacking or fly fishing. Anyways, I can see where it'd be a drone.
Or flying your drone.
Or, yeah, no, I can totally see that.
Whatever it is. Anyway, so let's give the example of the river ranch I did. That I charged $3,500 for. It took me 1 day to film, but it was a 2.5-hour drive out to the location, 2.5-hour drive back, which, by the way, I actually really enjoy long drives too, because I listen to a bunch of podcasts. Or I listen to books. I've got a couple new books I'm going through right now, which we should do an update on that segment of the podcast. Anyway, I charged $3,500. It was 10 acres, $2.7 million. It took me an hour and a half to film the outside with the drone. That was actually the easier part, and the inside took me about 2.5, 3 hours, just because there were so many rooms. And I always do like the rule of threes, which I just made up, which is you get 3 angles at 3 different, it's like just like with B-roll, right?
Yeah.
Tight, medium, wide, with different angles, because the more you have to play with, the better. And you never want to have to go back to one of those old locations. It gets bad fast, and it eats away your profit quickly.
And one of the reasons you're able to charge so much for that, I presume, is that it's probably a national market. I mean, they're marketing this thing nationally.
Exactly.
And so they've got to have a very high quality product in terms of marketing materials.
Do you know the number 1 purchaser of ranches right now in the United States? The Chinese.
Yeah, they're buying up the whole country.
Isn't that funny? I find that unbelievable. When I did the Imus Ranch 3 years ago, someone bought it, but I think it was a German firm. They're turning it into and this reminds me of a funny story. They're turning it into a retreat for their office. So it used to help kids with cancer. Now it's going to be full of
partying stuff.
Yeah.
Can only imagine what it's going to be full of. So anything else on this part of his question? Because we do still have the camera settings part of the question we need to address quickly.
Well, so the last thing I'll say is if I'm spending, 2 hours, 3 hours, let's just say 3 hours on editing. Let's take this back to the $650 price point. If I'm spending 3 hours editing, I'm spending an hour and a half filming. That means I'm in it 4.5 hours, which breaks my hourly cost down to
$100+, which is not bad.
Yes, that is.
You can live
correct.
with that. One of the things that we didn't mention in this particular podcast is that there is the option of outsourcing the editing and the post.
There is.
And there are some great options for that. If you find the right person, it can be a really good way to go.
Yes, absolutely. I know some guys who are getting outsourcing done editing for $50. This is something we talked about on a podcast a little while ago. Outsourcing by the hour will cost anywhere from $6 an hour to $100 an hour, depending on the quality of the editor. You really want to focus on someone who's within the $10 to $15 an hour mark, probably the $15 an hour mark.
You can find some very high quality editors at that rate.
Absolutely,
sure.
But you're going to have to be really organized. So you're going to have to organize your footage, interior, exterior, which camera, which room.
This is what I want to showcase, those kinds of things.
Exactly. The more organized you are, the cheaper it's going to cost you in the long term. That is a very, very important thing to understand. Because if you just say, oh, well, just edit my footage over there and let's look at the board, let's look at the house, and then let's go inside the front door and just let's go around the house. That's going to cost you $200.
And you're not going to like what he does.
Yeah. But if you're like,
suck.
I want to go through the front gate. I want to have multiple jump cuts that match the music. And then I want to go through the front door. Then I want to showcase the courtyard. Then I want to go through the main family rooms first, then the bedrooms. Let's exit out of the balcony to showcase the view of the river. around the house again, and then let's cut with the realtor's information. Here it is.
It's a visual script, essentially.
Yes. Normally, outsourcing costs me $80 a house.
Right.
So.
But you put a little more time into getting it set up for the editor, but that's, I mean, you just described why we do that. So
Exactly. But
very cool.
At 4.5 hours, at $650 total, that comes out to $144 an hour, which is a pretty good.
It's not bad.
That's a pretty good hourly
Take
rate.
that. I mean, that's more than 95% of people are making. Right?
I always mess with my dad because when I was growing up, my dad was always like, well, come talk to me when you're making $500 an hour, Paul. And I'm like, well, I just shot this TV show and I was making about $350 an hour. How young were you when you were making $350 an
and
hour?
I'm loving what I do.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of
And
that.
I'm outside. I'm flying drones. I'm meeting cool actors. I get to know the industry. I'm like, you're in an office arguing with people on the phone all day long, albeit you get paid. It's very stressful. Mine is more like, la, 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 la. So,
How's that?
la,
Okay, that helps. Thank you very much. All right, so the other question, let's jump into that really, really quickly about he's finding his footage a little dark. What should he do about that settings-wise, setup-wise?
So if you have the Inspire One X5, keyword X5, understand the Sunny 16 rules. This is actually something I saw Jeff Foster put out, and it's just so well done. Look it up. Don't quote me on this because I'm probably wrong. But if it's sunny outside, you want to use F16, F22 area for your footage. If it's slightly overcast, F11. If it's overcast, F8. If it's super overcast, F4.5, F4 kind of.
Okay.
You can even go down to 2.8. That's if you have adjustable aperture control. If you don't have adjustable aperture control, which I'm pretty sure Dave does not have with his Phantom 3 Professional,
Right.
There's two things you can do. Obviously, setting the white balance is definitely going to help you. And he mentioned that if you go into the settings, it'll say sunny, ambient, it'll say cloudy, incandescent. But if you go to all the way to the bottom, there's a custom setting, and you can actually set the Kelvin level. Kelvin is the temperature of the color.
Okay.
Sun is represented by about 5,600, but that's the color temperature. That's not really going to affect how much light is going into his camera. So that being said, if it's overcast, I would recommend to not use an ND filter. A polarizing filter, I think, would be a good way to go.
Okay.
But not an ND filter. And again, on the right side of your remote, you've got two wheels on your remote. The left wheel, which is your tilt, and your right wheel, which is the exposure value. Now, this is not the actual f-stop value. This is kind of like adjusted exposure value. So you can go, plus 0.5, plus 1, plus 1.5, plus 2. If you go in there, you can increase the amount of light that's going to be let into the camera. But do know, my friend, it is actually a good thing to have dark shadows. Because if your whites are too overexposed, you can't pull the data out of it, and you're not going to really be able to show the color. If your darks are too dark, like you see here, we can still lighten this up and still make it look normal.
Still get the texture out of it.
Still get the data out of it.
Yeah.
So if you're shooting just a slight bit dark, that's okay. Most people actually do shoot a tad dark. I think that our producer here, John, behind the scenes, he nodded his head in agreement.
Yay.
So
Good
I
job,
will
Paul.
make sure to say that when he doesn't nod his head in agreement. But it is something that you can do. You can just adjust the exposure of the shadows separately from the midtones and the highlights in Final Cut Pro, which is a very simple hack tweak to increase the light.
Okay.
So I would say if he wants to get more light in his Phantom 3 Pro, increase the exposure value. Don't mess with the ISO. I would just recommend you do not mess with it, because the problem with the Phantom 3 Pro and the Inspire One is that if you jack up the ISO to say 400 or 800, your images get very noisy. So I do not recommend that at all.
Very good.
Dude, I feel like I just talked for like an hour.
It was probably pretty close to that. Anyways, 40 minutes. Okay.
40.
Well, we better hit the road here, but we want to thank you guys for being a part of this. And if you've got a question of your own, askdroneu.com. We will get it on the podcast just as soon as we can. Love hearing
Just
those
to
questions.
say that with a little bit more inflection, we love your questions.
We do love
AskDroneu.com.
Okay. Yes. Thank you very much, Paul.
Just like to see you come up with a little energy, Rob. you know?
Okay. Well, thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
Anyways,
That's
where
why
can people find us?
If people, guys, get in touch with us. If you want to learn more, check out the Drone U. If you want us to share your photos on Instagram, Instagram.com/. /TheDroneU or @TheDroneU. That's going to do it for us today. Seriously love your questions. Bring them in. AskDroneU.com. That's going to do it. My name is Paul.
And I'm Rob.
This is Ask Drone U.
We believe that videos, images, words, and sounds have the absolute power to inform, inspire, and entertain. We are united under the virtues of safety and knowledge. We are a training community of learners and teachers who encourage and energize each other to achieve greatness. We are pilots, videographers, photographers, freelancers, business owners, enthusiasts, experts, and apprentices. We are creators. We are the Drone U.